So the Chiefs beat the Pittsburgh Steelers bad by a total of 19 points, and not only have they now beat back-to-back playoff teams, but they are heating up just in time for the playoffs. Combine that with several other key factors that I talk about in today's video, and you'll see why this is a terrifying thing for the rest of the NFL. So let's get into this game, including main takeaways and much more. But first, how about those? Oh, don't mind me. You know, just a Chiefs fan enjoying yet another win, another one seed clinched up, another non-stressful game on Christmas. Had to bring out the belt because the back-to-back champs are freaking back. Yeah, I know that was a little bit extra, but we had to celebrate just a little bit because there is a lot to process through to take away from this exciting win over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Christmas, so let's just jump right into it. Shortly before the game, the Chiefs announced that defensive tackle Chris Jones was going to be inactive, which meant the Steelers would have their main offensive weapon back in George Pickens after he missed 3 games with a hamstring issue. Meanwhile, the Chiefs would then not have their main defensive weapon in Chris Jones, and that made many of us wonder, how would the D-line look without the CEO of Sack Nation out there? Well, Mike Dana sacked Russell Wilson on the 3rd play of the game to force a very quick 3-and-out on the Steelers' opening drive, and that was a bit of a foreshadow of things to come. Nico Remigio then had his best punt return yet, taking it 33 yards up the left sideline, and that gave Mahomes and company great field position, and they went aggressive early, converting a 4th and 1 before Mahomes used his legs to bring them inside the 15. From there, Xavier Worthy caught a pass on a clever play that had him lined up in the backfield, and he was able to get the edge for the first score of the game, touchdown, Kansas City. Worthy then celebrated, then got flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct that moved Butker's extra point attempt back 15 yards, and he missed it, a seemingly costly error at the time, and I guess Worthy was flagged because he holstered his weapon. He didn't have a weapon out, was throwing presents into a bag, I think was a celebration, yet he holstered the presents, got flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct, which is something the refs are definitely watching for, so no more of that, Worthy, please. Joshua Williams then took a bad angle on this Najee Harris run, but George Karlaftis was able to get home to Russell Wilson, sacking him for the 2nd time on the day for a loss of 10 and creating a deficit Pittsburgh was unable to overcome. Remigio then got the ball knocked out on a punt, creating a moment of panic, but safety Deion Bush was thankfully able to dive on it. Crisis averted. From there, Mahomes converted one of the most hilarious 3rd downs in his career on this play right here. They needed 11 yards, and Mahomes had a slight pump, stepped up into the pocket and scrambled left, and right before he crossed the line of scrimmage, he just flipped the ball over the head of 2 defenders to Samaje Perine for 14 yards. The funniest part about this play is when Mahomes flipped the ball to Samaje, the guy was on the ground. He fell over and was rolling over, and Mahomes just had the awareness to throw it in his direction, trusting that he would hopefully make a play, and Perine certainly delivered. This man is the Jerick McKinnon that we were hoping for post Jerick McKinnon era. And I'm glad they were able to convert this 3rd down because on the very next play, Justin Watson caught a 49-yard bomb, a perfect deep ball from Mahomes down the right sideline. Watson won his 1v1 rep and Mahomes had the time to throw. Then just 3 plays later, Mahomes hit Watson again in the end zone with Worthy and D-Hop drawing enough attention for him to squeak open, and just like that, the Chiefs found themselves up 13-0 with like 5 minutes to go in the 1st quarter. Pittsburgh was determined to close the gap though, and George Pickens made a hell of a grab for 41 yards up the left side with McDuffie all over him in coverage. Jaylen Warren then busted off a 22-yard run and eventually got into the end zone. A holding call on their tight end though negated the touchdown and moved them back, and Russell Wilson then threw a perfect pass to Justin Reid. Reid jumped the route and made an incredible play on that one. It didn't matter all that much though because KC's offense immediately went 3-and-out with Patrick Queen somehow not coming down with the football on this batted up pass on 3rd down. And even though Ariza had a great punt to flip the field, the Steelers had their best drive of the game here. Multiple chunk plays got them to the 20, with Pat Freiermuth making a key 15-yard catch on 3rd and 8 to help eventually set up a Russell Wilson rushing touchdown. He saw room, took off, and Leo Chanel and George Karlaftis were just a hair too slow. And with 10 minutes to go in the half, nothing but punts proceeded to take place. Worthy was able to convert a third down, with Casey facing another fourth down that Kelce pretty easily converted for 15 yards to take them into the red zone. The problem was Jawaan Taylor got hit with a hold that actually brought them out of Butker's field goal range, and they had to punt. Pittsburgh also opted to punt on 4th and 1, but the Chiefs had 12 men on the field, and that gave Pittsburgh a first down. Joshua Williams then thankfully saved what could have been a walk-in touchdown by Mike Williams, leaping up into the air and making an incredible pass breakup. A few unsuccessful plays by both teams then brought us to the second half, where Xavier Worthy caught 2 different passes for 31 yards. The rookie is heating all the way up at just the right time. More on that in a bit, because the former Steeler Juju Smith-Schuster caught a quick slant, and that brought them to the 13-yard line, but they ultimately did have to settle for a field goal. Mike Dana then got his second sack on the day that helped set up a favorable 3rd and 14, but Calvin Austin caught this pass for exactly that many yards with Najee Johnson close by in coverage. Russ then scrambled for 15 yards on 3rd and 9, and just when it looked like the Steelers might score another touchdown, Turk Wharton sacked Wilson on 3rd and 5 at the 12-yard line to hold them to 3. Shout out to George Karlaftis on that play to create some pressure as well, and he even almost strip-sacked Russell Wilson earlier on in this drive, but it was ruled an incomplete pass. Now, Casey had another special teams blunder after this, believe it or not, because Boswell actually missed his initial 41-yard field goal attempt with it smacking the left upright. Well, Justin Reid jumped into the neutral zone before the snap, and that gave Pittsburgh 5 yards and a retry, to which Boswell did actually make. All right, next up, with the Chiefs officially locking up the 1 seed after beating the Steelers, that means they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs for both the divisional round, then if they win that, the AFC Championship as well. Well, there's nothing better than making it to a game during the playoffs. It is absolutely insane, and that is where my special hookup from today's sponsor, SeatGeek, comes right in. Everyone can use my code HBTC10 and get 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek, whether you are a new customer or not. This includes any NFL games as well as other sports, concerts, festivals, you name it. SeatGeek also makes the process easy for you by rating tickets on a scale of 1 to 10, so just look for the green dots, because green means good, red means bad, and no matter how many times you've bought tickets using SeatGeek before, code HBTC10 is gonna get it done. So take out your phone, open up the SeatGeek app, and add code HBTC10 to your account ASAP, because this offer is only available for a limited time. Okay, so by now we know special teams has been struggling so far in this game. That made a muffed punt that was thankfully recovered. It wasn't a muffed punt, it was a fumble by Nico Remigio that was thankfully recovered. They then missed a PAT. A punt for Pittsburgh turned into a first down because of a special teams penalty by the receiving team, the Chiefs. Then a retry of a field goal, and all that happened before the 5 or so minute mark of the third quarter. So it's safe to say that special teams struggled a bit in this one. Marquise Hollywood Brown did not struggle on this play, though, that went for 17 yards, catching another one 2 plays later for 12 more that some thought might have been incomplete, but Casey hurried to the line and was able to run another play before Mike Tomlin decided if he wanted to challenge it, and that helped keep the drive alive, with Travis Kelce and Worthy helping to set up this Kareem Hunt touchdown. Let's go. They did try the 2-point conversion, but failed, and that remained a 12-point game at this point in time. But somebody else who failed was whoever was supposed to block Felix Enudike-Uzama, and the former first-round pick got home for the defense's 4th or 5th sack on the day. At this point, they ended with 5 total. I just can't remember if this was 4th or 5. Either way, the D-line was teeing off. Well, things went from bad to worse for Pittsburgh, because the very next play, Trent McDuffie was able to force a fumble on 3rd down, and Nick Bolton recovered. Another elite play by one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, and believe it or not, that was his 7th forced fumble of his career, and the 3rd turnover created by McDuffie in 3 straight games. He's coming off back-to-back games with INTs, then had the forced fumble. That's greatness personified. Mahomes and company flipped this game on its head on the next drive, taking advantage of the turnover, and on this play here, history was made. Mahomes found Kelce wide open for a 12-yard touchdown, with Kelce surprisingly dunking the football in celebration. And yeah, that drew an unsportsmanlike conduct flag, but he did that because with that score, Kelce officially caught his 77th regular season touchdown pass for the Chiefs, making him the franchise leader in receiving touchdowns in history. Tony Gonzalez was the prior holder with 76, and Kelce actually dunked the ball in Tony's honor because Tony said when Kelce breaks it, he would pay Kelce's fine if he dunked it, which is pretty freaking cool if you ask me. From there, Butker did make the extra point even though they were backed up 15 yards, and the Chiefs found themselves up 19 points with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So this was pretty much a do-or-die drive for Pittsburgh. They desperately needed points, and they eventually turned the ball over on downs after being unable to convert on 4th and 20. And after that drive, that was basically all she wrote, with safety Jaden Hicks giving Pickens a double thumbs down, drawing yet another flag. This was a dominant performance by the Chiefs, though, sailing past 2 playoff teams in convincing fashion in back-to-back games. Mahomes was lights out, completing 29 of 38 of his passes for 320 yards and 3 touchdowns. The return of Hollywood Brown has continued to help the offense. It's really not even a question, and he had 7 targets on the day, catching 4 of those for 46 yards, and this helps open others up, like Travis Kelce, who led the day with 8 catches for 84 yards and a score. Then Xavier Worthy also had 8 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown of his own. And Worthy is clearly heating up just in time for the playoffs. It is evident. Look at his game log right here. You can see his targets going up, his catches going up, and his yards even going up a little bit. Way more than just a deep ball guy, as they are using him all over the field. Then Travis Kelce is honestly doing the same, heating up at just the right time. He broke the franchise receiving touchdown record in this game, but also caught his 1,000th career reception, becoming the 3rd tight end in NFL history to ever do so. He also recorded his 7th consecutive season with 90 or more catches, which is an NFL record for longest streak of seasons with 90 or more. And all that basically means Travis Kelce is the freaking GOAT. And if you disagree with me, argue with a wall, because I do not care. And while the run game in this one wasn't super effective, with Pacheco and Hunt combining for just 38 yards on the ground, KC's plan was evident. They utilized the quick passing game as an extension of the run, and it worked to near perfection. This is something they've made a concerted effort to do in back-to-back games because they were going up against great pass rushers, and Joe Thuney held it down on the left tackle spot, so shout out to him for that. But this quick passing game is also helping the O-line out as a whole, and really the offense to just keep moving the ball right along. According to Next Gen Stats, Mahomes averaged his quickest time to throw of the season, 2.34 seconds, and 2nd quickest of his career today against the Steelers. He completed 20 of 24 pass attempts under 2.5 seconds for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. Well, his 2nd quickest time to throw, by the way, was just last week against the Texans. The offense wasn't exceptional on 3rd downs, converting just 3 out of 10, but they did convert 1 4th down, and it should have been 2, but the Jawaan Taylor flag happened, so it is what it is there. But the key here to me is the Chiefs went 4 for 5 in the red zone. 80% of the time inside the 20, they scored a touchdown. And when you are more times than not getting 7 rather than 3 from inside the 20, and your defense holds the opponent to just 10 points, which was really 7, because remember, special teams gifted Boswell a re-kick, only 7 points, 10 on the day. That more times than not is going to be a big, fat W. It also helps that Mahomes threw 0 interceptions for the 6th straight game. Meanwhile, the defense had 2 takeaways. McDuffie had the forced fumble late, and Justin Reid had that interception in the end zone. So just key plays being made. You're protecting the ball on offense. Special teams needs to clean it up, to be clear, but then the defense is getting takeaways of their own. And when you have the Chiefs firing on all cylinders like that and putting up nearly 30 points on back-to-back playoff teams, this is going to be scary. More on that in a second. I did have the Chiefs winning this game 30-24, but I was glad to be way off. I underestimated how great this defense would be without Chris Jones and thought Pittsburgh would have more juice on offense with the return of George Pickens. Instead, they went 1 for 4 in the red zone and had less total yards in spite of having 1 more drive. Russ threw 0 touchdown passes. He had 1 rushing, so hats off to him for that, but then he also threw that INT. And while the run D did struggle, allowing the run game of the Steelers to average 6.5 yards per carry, they held George Pickens in check to just 50 yards on the day, and they sacked Russell Wilson 5 times again without Chris Jones. Mike Dana had 2 sacks. FAU, George Karlaftis, and Turk all then had 1. And honestly, they looked freaking great out there. And even though Omenihu didn't get a sack, he had a lot of impactful plays as well. Super glad to have him back in time for the playoff run. And outside of the sloppy plays on special teams, Butker did hit everything else aside from that 1 missed BAT, and Matt Ariza had a hell of a day punting the ball way down the field, and I trust Dave Toub will help clean that stuff up for the playoffs. I also would like to see the team clean up the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. Jaden Hicks and Worthy are rookies, and I expect the vets and Coach Reid to address that and put an end to it ASAP, because you can't afford to have penalties like that in the postseason. It's just unacceptable. So clean that up, and then clean up the penalties overall. Jawaan Taylor had 4 alone, but he did completely shut TJ Watt down. To his credit, got to give him props there. Per Next Gen Stats, TJ Watt generated 0 pressures on 31 pass rushes. So again, shout out to Jawaan Taylor and the O-line as a whole. They gave up 0 sacks in this one, which was definitely helped by the quick passing game, but still, credit where credit is due. Joe Thuney could be the serviceable left tackle for the rest of the season if he had to be. And I know some people are blaming the refs on the Chiefs blowing the Steelers out, winning by 19, even though the Chiefs had 9 flags to the Steelers' 4 flags. But I relish in their tears and hope and pray that it absolutely ruined their Christmas to see the Chiefs win yet again. All this, by the way, is coming together at the right time for the offense. Then the defense will have Chris Jones back for the playoffs with 0 pressure to play him or any other key starter week 18 against the Broncos, because as you know by now, with that win, the Chiefs locked up the 1 seed and the first round bye, and week 18 literally does not matter if they win or lose. So they have time to rest players and get truly healthy after just playing through 3 games in 11 days and winning all 3 of them. Speaking of injuries, Mike Pennel suffered some sort of a hamstring issue. He was able to return, but it's worth noting that he will have time to heal up. Look at this clip of Mike Pennel out in coverage, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. Another injury is going to be running back Isaiah Pacheco. He left the game in the second half with a rib injury, questionable to return, and that's really the only player Andy Reid brought up in his post-game presser. So hopefully it's not too serious, but the good news is anybody nicked up will have over 20 days of rest before the divisional round of the playoffs. That is absolutely incredible, dynastic stuff. Home field advantage again in the playoffs, the first 15-win season in franchise history. They went undefeated at home and are pushing for their 4th Super Bowl win in 6 years and could also become the first team to ever win 3 in a row. Combine that with the fact that the Chiefs are 6-1 against current playoff teams in the AFC. They have the #1 scoring defense right now, allowing just 18 points per game. Part of that is because the offense is having a bunch of long drives and success on 3rd downs, but still, #1 scoring defense. Then on offense, they put up nearly 30 points against back-to-back playoff teams. And finally, look at this. You want to talk about a team rising / peaking / getting hot at the perfect time? Look at their DVOA, their single game DVOA by week, and look at the last 4 in particular. That is what you want to see right before the playoffs, trending up, and the Chiefs are getting truly scary at just the right time. This should honestly piss off some people, but also scare the rest of the NFL, because nobody turns up like KC in the playoffs. Mahomes, he's 15-3 in the postseason and are 1 playoff win away from making their 7th consecutive AFC Championship appearance, and that is quite honestly terrifying. Mahomes himself has more than double the playoff wins of Allen and Lamar combined, so good luck to the rest of the league here in a few weeks. And with that, make sure to let me know your thoughts on this awesome performance and yet another game that wasn't a down-to-the-wire nail-biter. Who were some of your standouts, and how are you feeling about this team right now as they get ready for the playoffs? Remember, last Christmas, the Chiefs lost to the Raiders and fell to 9-6 on the year. Way different than what they are this season. Not even close. They'll have DJ Humphries healthy if they opt to move Thuney back inside to left guard. And then Chris Jones should be healthy as well in theory. Hopefully Pacheco as well. Mahomes' ankle will be more than fine. And everybody will be rested and have plenty of time to get ready and take on whoever it's going to end up being at Arrowhead for the divisional round. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?